Merced County deserves the trust and the integrity of a person who's going to be transparent, open-minded, willing to educate the communities and the law enforcement communities to understand one another. They're going to need somebody who's out there that wants to suppress the crime and displace people from Merced County that do not belong here, that are not wanted by not only the law enforcement community but the community of Merced County as a whole. Since the day I put the badge on, I've wanted to be the sheriff of Merced County. I felt I could be that next big change, that next difference. So through my career, I have worked and taken notes and watched the 5 sheriffs that I've worked for and the many other law enforcement agencies that we've worked with, and I've taken the notes, and an opportunity has arisen at this point in my life where that opportunity to be sheriff and make the difference that Merced County can actually benefit from is right now. And with you as the voter voting for Frank Swiggart for sheriff, we can make that difference. We got 12 to 16 years before we even think of the first retirement, where we can plant that seed, we can watch it grow, we can trim that tree, we can make sure the fruits are big and large. We can fertilize it when it needs to, and we can trim off the bushes and the suckers when they're need to be. These are the reasons that I want to be Merced County's next sheriff. I want to make a difference. I want to bring trust back to Merced community, law enforcement, and the community of Merced as a whole.
Well, I was asked to be sheriff by the deputy sheriffs of our sheriff's office, and a lot of correctional officers asked me to come out of retirement because they weren't happy with the choices that were presented to them by the other candidates announcing. So doing that, I talked with my wife, and she agreed to support me with this, actually very enthusiastically. And so the reason I'm running is because I've been asked by a lot of folks to run, and having the experience level that I have distinguishes me very well against the other candidates running. There's a tremendous experience difference between all of us, and I hope that the voters look at the difference between the 3 of us.
I'd like to be the next sheriff of Merced County because I offer a plethora of experience. I have 27 years of administrative experience in 3 different law enforcement organizations. During that time, I've been able to understand, develop leadership skills that will translate directly into benefiting Merced County. I think that we're at a critical time in Merced. Financially, the county, although is recovering, it's not going to be in a position that we can significantly supplement the sheriff over the next 2 or 3 years. And so we're going to have to take a look at what we have in the sheriff's department. We're going to have to make better use of it, and we're going to have to be more effective and efficient. I think that I offer the background that I can bring programs in that I've seen are successful. I've seen programs that are not successful that we shouldn't try. And based on that experience, I think that I can move Merced County forward and be a great sheriff for our county.
Right now, I think the number one problem, and I want to go in a twofold category, I think the number one problem we have is to deal with our current budget and redirect our resources so that it better suits and serves our community. Right now, we've got several deputies that are doing non-deputy work, and I don't believe that that's an accurate or a correct way to work with personnel. Then, by dealing with that, then you have to increase the morale of the department and actually get folks motivated to want to go to work and do the job that they actually were sworn to do. Most of these folks, when they became deputy sheriffs, were doing so because they want to change the world. I feel that as their sheriff, I can actually motivate them again to want to become that deputy, that peace officer, to go out and change the world and to actually do good by our community. Right now, they're very downtrodden, and I think that I can bring that elevation to their morale back to focus where they would do our citizens proud.
The number one issue facing the Sheriff Department is financing. If we do not have adequate financing for public safety, we are going to be in a position where we are not going to be able to be innovative, we're not going to be able to bring on new programs, and we're not going to be able to be as effective as you, the citizens of Merced, want us to be. We need to solve that by a couple of ways. We need to go to the Board of Supervisors and present a rational plan that allows the board to understand that public safety should be funded, and it should be funded at a level that will reduce the crime in the county. We've just come off a year of the highest homicide rate, 2013. There were 19 homicides in the county, highest ever. We've got to address those problems, but we can't address them if we're not adequately financed. We have gang problems, we have drug problems, we have all of these kinds of situations that are detrimental to our county, but if we don't have the adequate financing to deal with it, we're not going to be able to be as effective as you want us to be.
The number one problem that the Sheriff's Department has at this moment is trust. I feel it's lost the trust of the community to help solve crimes, to come forward and to stand up in their own communities and take their communities back from crime with gang members, drug dealers, the metal thieves that are out there that are plaguing our ag crime industry. These are small things that have a big picture of trust. I want to educate Merced County communities of what law enforcement needs to do to make a difference. And I also want to educate the law enforcement to understand their communities better. Get out, learn what's going on in each community. Have that same deputy pull up in the driveway, somebody that you recognize, you trust. And as time goes on, that trust and that factor of community-based believing in one another is going to help us displace the bad elements out of Merced County. That gang member, that drug dealer, that ag crime thief, those are the people we want to displace. And together, we can do that.
The gang problem in the county is significant. 1994, while I was the chief of police of the city of Merced, we recognized that we were developing a gang problem. We put together the Gang Violence Suppression Unit, which is active to this day. I think that we have to deal with the gang situation in the unincorporated area of the county in much the same way. We have to put together a gang violence unit. We have to aggressively seek the perpetrators out, and we have to aggressively remove them from being able to commit the crimes that they're doing, the drive-by shootings, those kinds of things. In addition to that, I think the sheriff needs to play a non-traditional role in that we need to get into gang prevention. The most effective way that we can reduce children going into gangs is early childhood education. That's generally a non-traditional role for the sheriff to advocate those kinds of things. But I think those are the kinds of things we have to do. But one, we have to recognize that we have a problem. We have to admit that we need to devote resources to it, and we have to aggressively go get it.
The gang situation in Merced County is very complex. The first thing that we need to do is we need to get every deputy to become a specialist in gangs. That's the deputy that's on the street, that's going to be out there in the field, that's going to be stopping that gang member every day, as many days as it takes, to displace him from Merced County. Along with that deputy on the street, we need to start a big board of sort where we can actually map out all the gangs that are in Merced County, whether they're in the cities or whether they're in the counties. We need to be able to map them out and see where the activity is occurring, and we need to filter that information back into law enforcement and not keep it into a drawer someplace or a binder. We need to make sure it gets into the hands of the deputy so that we can continue to maintain that intelligence. The next step we need to do is we need to find that gang task force that's going to find the the hot spots and go out after these gangs that create the most problems. Go after them until we can displace them or get them arrested and put behind bars. These are the small things to start with, but the large things to end with that'll make Merced County a safer place for you and I to raise our families.
The gangs, I look at Merced County as a human body. The county itself is our human body, and the gangs are a form of cancer that we actually have to go in and cut that cancer out. We have to aggressively cut that cancer out, and now we've got to take a second dose, and what we do by that is we have to treat it. We have to treat the cancer. First treatment foremost, we started at the schools at a very young age. My experience as a DARE officer and school resource officer, I know how to talk with these kids and lead them to an area where they might want to consider something else and provide them the opportunity to not get into gangs. A lot of times when these kids are looking at gangs, they're wanting to join something, they want to belong to something. So as part of the Sheriff's Department, I can provide that. I've done it through exploring. We had the largest exploring post in the nation. Then we also have to do another treatment program, and we get other facets of our county involved through mental health or social services, even medical, because a lot of times by treating the symptoms or the symptomology with these gangs is we can help prevent the gangs from actually start to grow again in the body of what we call Merced County. The gang is the cancer. We have an opportunity to treat that cancer, but it's not just the sheriff's responsibility, but I think the sheriff can facilitate the opportunity for these other government agencies to come in and help. And it's not just the government agency. Let's talk about the churches, the local spiritual leaders in our community. A lot of those want to get involved, and they've told me that they would like to be involved back into the jails, actually get into the jail and help these folks on a spiritual crusade, because a lot of times if they find that spirituality, they will find a way to get away from the gangs. Again, it's because the gang style is because they want to belong to something, and if we provide them something to belong to, then maybe we can keep them out of the gangs.
The most important thing we have to do in the short run is make sure the correctional officers are working in a safe environment. We can do a number of things to harden that facility. We can do some things with fencing, we can do some things with the building, but overall, in the long run, what we're going to have to do is enter into a partnership with the state, probably via a grant, to build a new facility. That money has been allocated in the budget this year at the state level, and we need to successfully write a grant so we can build a facility that can handle the increased load that has come about because of AB 109.
Well, a lot of the problems we have with our current jail facility at the John LaRocca Center is the actual buildings themselves, the location, the structure. They were not meant to house the serious felons that we have in there. We, at the Sheriff's Office, I have been briefed by our upper administration about the current efforts being made right now to install a second fence, so that there's going to have a double fence to have to go through or go over. Now, I have also another plan that I think is going to be a stronger solution, and it's for a one-time purchase to buy portable trailers, towers. These towers do not need an environmental impact report. We don't need a permit. We just need a pickup truck. We can bring these towers in and put them at opposing corners and actually staff them with bodies that have night vision goggles or binoculars, but to actually staff that so that the towers are up above the rooftops and they can actually monitor what's going on. A lot of times we have folks that are driving around the John LaRocca Center throwing narcotics in, like tennis balls and other paraphernalia onto the roofs. I've actually been reported that these folks are making phone calls that are from our jail and actually getting folks to go by and get hamburgers for them and throw them on the roof. Correctional officers have told me that it takes 8 minutes from the start to finish for one of our inmates to get up onto the roof and get back down into their cell. A lot of them go up onto the roof just to receive the narcotics. Well, having the towers in place will not only stop the escapes, but I think it will also stop 99% of the smuggling that goes on into our system.
Our jail system is a very old system. It wasn't designed to house the long-term criminal, the hard criminal, the felon of sorts. Those are supposed to go off to state prisons. Now, with the new AB 109 situation, where we're now getting those felons in our own communities, the first thing we need to do, and most people call it a Band-Aid, but we have to harden and fortify the things that we have. And if that includes putting more razor wire, raising fences, putting lights out on yards, using technology to put cameras and sensors in places to find out when some movement's happening in locations, not only at the John LaRocca facility, but the main jail also. These are the small things to start to keep the hardening of our jail and to curtail those criminals from wanting to escape. The next step is finding that maximum security jail, whether we have to go through the state, we have to go through the federal government. We need to find a way to bring that to Merced County, even if we have to do it in stages where we can build upon a maximum security system throughout the next 10 to 20 years, building each pod one at a time. The biggest thing that we really need to focus on is the immediate moment and what's happening down the road. That forward thinking is going to help us in the long road. Don't cut any corners. Do the job and do the job right, and you won't have to do it a second time.